Finding your comfortable seated position, feel free to sit on a blanket or a pillow. I want you to relax your eyes, keeping your chest open, releasing this tension in your shoulders, expanding each breath. I want you to keep your eyes relaxed as you start to add movement through that neck. Starting with that ear drop to your shoulder and allowing your head to roll side to side. As you continue, let's start to exaggerate that movement. Maybe taking it into a full rotation, opening up behind you. Remember to switch directions. It's really tempting to want to let those shoulders tense, but really try to focus on keeping your shoulders relaxed here. Bringing your head to center. Let's go ahead and link those fingers together and just open your back, tucking your chin into your chest, pulling those shoulder blades apart, rounding through the spine. Really focus on not holding your breath here. Pulling your shoulders back, lifting your chest and your chin. Let's go ahead and reverse opening your chest. If you have a wall and you want to open your chest that way, feel free to take advantage of having a wall. If not, that's okay. I want you to make sure if you are using a wall to not let your elbow lift higher than your shoulder. Releasing if you're using that wall over to the other side. I know myself, I need this chest stretch, especially on my right side. Very gently release. Let's go ahead and open that left leg out. Right foot stays tucked in here. We're going to bring those arms up as you inhale. Exhale, melting forward. I want you to keep those hips on the floor or maybe on your pillow or blanket. I know it's hard, but I want you to try to relax that belly. See if you can sink deeper into that stretch. Slowly walking those hands back up towards your body. Bringing that right arm to your ear to reach towards that left foot. So what I want you to avoid is letting your chest drop. We will get there in a second, but not quite yet. I want you to feel that stretch through your side. As you exhale, now you can rotate that chest towards that leg. If you want to feel that stretch even further, feel free to reach for those toes. Bring your toes up. Feel that stretch through your calves. Maybe rolling it side to side. You can even point your toe if you want to feel that through your shin or the front of your ankle. Completely optional playing with that ankle. Walking your hands up your leg, rotating your chest back to center before switching over to the other side, extending your right leg, left leg tucks into your body, starting by just walking those hands forward. Remember your hips stay on the floor, whether you're sitting on a blanket or a pillow, or you're on your mat. Here's the hard part. I want you to release with that exhale. Try to get that belly to relax. Try to avoid the tension in your shoulders. Slow walk back with your hands. This time bringing that left arm up and over to reach for that right foot. Remember, we're keeping our chest to the front on this first stretch. We will drop it in a second. Exhale, allow that chest to release towards that front leg. Optional, feel free to play with that ankle, bringing your toes up towards your shin, pointing your toe, or rolling it out. Slowly bringing yourself back up to center, rotating your chest back to the front. All right, so you have two options here. Your first option is to sit into your butterfly, feet come together, and open your hips this way. For those of you who are feeling extra flexible today and you want to open up into a full straddle, feel free to release here. We're going to walk. So whether you're in your butterfly or in your straddle, we're going to hinge at the hips. Again, I want you to try to lead with the belly. I know this is the hard part. Take your time as you bring those hands back towards your body. Bring those feet together, shake it out. When you're ready, swing those feet behind you. On all fours, in that tabletops position, let's make sure our shoulders are nice and tight, packed down and away from our ears. Back is flat, as if we're balancing a glass of water. Tucking your toes under, let's go ahead and hover our knees just for a second. Exhale, release. If you need to give those wrists a little bit more of a warm up before we go into downward dogs, feel free to warm up those wrists. When you're ready, let's go ahead and push back or shift back. Again, remember those shoulders are down. So what I mean by that, so you see how I can relax in those shoulders, kind of up towards my ears, or I can pull them down and away from my ears. They're nice and packed and tight. Again, we're gonna hover those knees. And this time push those hips down into downward, or back into downward dog, sorry. I want you to see if you can keep those shoulders down and away from your ears. So if you're shrugging up to your ears, see if you can pull those shoulders down. I know it's kind of a hard concept, hard movement to get. So kind of play with it here for a second. As you inhale, bring that gaze forward, walk those feet up towards your hands. Slight bend through the knees as we lift into standing. Head is last to come up. Arms overhead, inhale. Exhale, opening up into a nice wide stance. I'm going to turn just so you have a different view, a better view. Bringing our arms overhead, we're going to reach over to the right. Lengthen through the spine. I want you to hold this halfway point. Reach those fingertips forward. How far can you extend that spine? Bringing your head between your hands to look down to the floor. Exhale, releasing down to that leg, leading with your chest. Your eyes are now looking behind you. Hands walk to center. We're going to hold here for a few breaths. Slight bend through the knees as we roll into standing. Head is last to come up. Let's switch over to the other side. Inhale, arms come to your ears. Rotating over to the left this time. And lengthen through that spine. Again, reach those fingertips forward. Eyes are between your head. Eyes are between your arms. Looking down at the floor. Eyes are obviously between your head. And exhale, bringing that chest down toward your front leg. Taking those hands back to center, holding here for a few breaths. Can you get deeper into this stretch? slight bend through the knees as we roll into standing. Again, head is always last to come up. Shoulders lifting through the head. Let's take a deep breath in. Exhale your arms to your side. So we're going to adjust our feet placement so that they're right about hip length apart. You're going to kind of feel what feels comfortable for you. As you lift your toes, squeeze your butt. That's where I want your toes to stay. So some of you might be a little wider, some of you might be more narrow. I want you to kind of stay there. Imagine so on the balls of your feet, right under your big toe, under your little toe, and your heel, they're gripping to the floor. So you're kind of using that triangle. You can use your toes to grip here. If you're doing this right, you should feel those glutes engaged. As you rip the floor apart, I want you to drop down, hips push back. I'm going to give you a side view here in a second. And lift into standing. I'm going to turn it to the side just like I promised. Same thing. So I want you to pull the floor apart using your glutes. Control and stand. So I want where you stop. So if you're going all the way down to the floor like this, you see how my back starts to round and my hips kind of tuck under? You're going too far. So once that spine kind of drops and your pelvis rolls under, called the butt wink, you might have heard of that before, that's too far. So I want you to stop before you hit that point. Let's go ahead and do 2 more on your own. Notice my shoulders are really tempting. They want to round forward. I'm keeping them strong. You do the same. It's not easy. I know it's not easy. Awesome job, team. Let's go ahead and adjust that placement back in line with your hips, feet facing forward. Inhale, arms come overhead. Exhale, push those hips back, lengthen to the spine, hold that halfway point, just like we did in that other exercise with that wide stance. Make a right angle with your body. And exhale, release into that forward fold. Way to work today, everyone. All right, I want you to keep that right foot forward as you step back with your left foot. Adjusting that placement so your knee stays in line with your knee. Allowing your back heel to release. So your foot's flat on the floor. Keeping your hips facing forward. Let's swing up into our warrior one. So what I mean by hips facing forward, your hip bones are your headlights. Allow them to face forward here. Inhale, extend that front leg. Exhale, reach forward. I'm going to adjust a little bit closer together for that pyramid. We got a lot of hamstring stretches today, if you haven't noticed already. Your hip bones are still facing forward here. So hamstrings or the back of your thighs, which you probably can feel at this moment. Take a deep breath in. As you exhale, step those feet together back into your forward fold. This time, if your hands are not placed on the floor, I want you to place them on a yoga block or something you could use in place of a yoga block, like a pot or a pan, or maybe even a pillow. And from here, with your eyes looking behind you, I want you to sink your weight into one hip. So you're kind of popping that leg on the other side, bending that knee. As we switch over to the other side, we're going to adjust that placement and then pop that hip, sinking in to the other side. Let's go ahead and bring that weight back to center. And stepping back with our right foot, left foot stays forward, allowing your heel to release behind you so that we can lift up into our warrior one. Remember, those hip bones stay facing forward here. If you're feeling pain in that lower back, I want you to avoid this by tucking your pelvis under, or tucking your hips, squeezing through the glutes and the core. Extending that front leg. I'm going to take a small step forward. Hinging here, holding that halfway. Exhale, release. Stepping forward with that leg. This time we're going to hop back into our plank position. You can hop or step. Feet back. Gently release those knees. Let's sit back into child's pose. Feel free to use this time to rock side to side. If you have a yoga strap, or you can use a belt, or even a strong and long shoe lace, go ahead and get that ready for this next one. Shifting our weight forward, let's go ahead and step forward with our right side and let those hips sink down into the stretch. Notice how my knee stays over my ankle. You might not need to, but using your belt, your yoga strap, or whatever you have, let's go ahead, chest faces your front leg, reach for that back foot. If your hips pushed back to reach for it, are you able to sink those hips down? This is an advanced stretch, so don't feel discouraged. Exhale, release that back leg. Hands are placed on the inside of that front foot. Foot steps back and sit back into child's pose. Go ahead and recenter here. I know that was a hard one. All right, you ready? Let's shift forward. Let's do the other side. This time our left foot steps forward and sink those hips into this stretch. When you're ready, let's take that left hand and you can either use your strap, wrap it around that ankle or foot. Or if you're able to reach for it with your hand, reach for it with that hand. If your hips shifted back to reach for that foot, are you able to get those hips back into that forward position? Exhale as you release, placing those hands on the inside of that front foot as you step back and sit into child's pose one more time. Bringing those hands below your shoulders, using them to press yourself up. Let's go ahead and swing onto our glutes. Take your time to release down to the floor. You can use your hands or you can use your core to release. That was a little more challenging than it usually was. Abs are sore from boot camp. Let's bring those knees into our chest, into our tight ball, and just draw figure eights with your knees. Making sure you reverse the direction. Relaxing your feet down to the floor. I'll let you choose between placing your feet on the floor or extending out in front of you while we do this shoulder stretch or shoulder exercise. We're going to bring those hands above our shoulders, palms facing each other. We're just going to peel those shoulder blades off the floor. And then I want you to squeeze down into the floor. And doing that a few times. Can you exaggerate that movement? As you complete your last one, feel free to roll out those shoulders, shake it out. Hugging one knee into your chest. Go ahead and extend that leg out in front of you. We're going to go into that hip stretch here in a second. Feel free to roll out your ankle as we get started. Extending that leg, reaching from under your calf, under your thigh, or maybe even your ankle. You can choose to keep that leg extended, or you can tuck that knee into your chest as or before you extend or open that hip out to the side. When you do this, do not let your opposite hip follow, so keep those hips pressed to the mat or the floor. Bringing that knee back to center, placing that foot on the floor. Let's go ahead and switch sides, starting with your knee tucked into your chest and extending your leg out in front of you. Feel free to roll out that ankle. Extending that leg, reaching from under your thigh, your calf, or your ankle. You can choose to tuck that knee back into your chest, or you can keep that leg extended as you open your hip out to the side. Again, make sure your other hip does not follow. Slowly bringing that leg back to center, tucking your knee into your chest, placing your foot on the floor and extending your leg out in front of you. Go ahead and relax your eyes. And bring your mind to your breath. Feeling your breath start to expand. Completing each inhale With your eyes relaxed, let's give your fingers and your toes some movement here. Eventually sliding your feet flat to the floor. And rolling over to one side. Opening your eyes when you're ready. And slowly pressing yourself up into your comfortable seated position you started with. Inhale as you bring those arms overhead. Exhale to your sides. 2 more deep breaths. Inhale. And exhale. One more time. Hands come to prayer. Exhale, hands to heart. Namaste. Have a beautiful rest of your Wednesday, everyone, and I will see you all on Monday.